Hi, I'm Robert. Welcome back to another on-the-road video brought to you by ApplianceVideo.com. Today we'll be replacing the circulating pump on this Bosch dishwasher. Customer's complaint was leaking and not cycling right. We've determined that the circulating pump was the leak because we had water on the right side of the base, which is where the circulating pump is, and it would fill up the base until it had enough water to make it over to the left side where the float switch is. Then what happens is power is taken away from the circulating pump and the inlet valve and directed straight to the drain pump, and it will not let the machine do anything but drain until that water dries up around the float. Stop. Before you begin any repair, unplug the appliance from the wall outlet. It is also recommended that you check for proper voltage. Remember to also turn off the water. To complete this repair, you will need a T20 Torx driver with an extension bar, a number 2 Phillips screwdriver, a 5/16 nut driver, and side cut pliers. To begin this repair, we must first uninstall the dishwasher. That means removing the mounting screws that hold it to the counter, removing the electrical and the water, and pulling it completely out and laying it on its back. What we're doing now is removing the mounting screws. They're number 2 Phillips. They hold these brackets into the counter. The brackets sit over the top of the mounting tabs on the dishwasher. Some of the Bosch dishwashers are installed with side mount screws instead that screw directly into the cabinet. This one doesn't have that feature. Okay, generally you would have a nut to unscrew on the water valve. This one was done with a nut that has a Gaggenau fitting for the water line. So we're just gonna depress the shoulder of the Gaggenau valve, kind of push it back, and then pull the water line out. Now I'm going to unscrew the cover to the electricals. And at this point, I'm going to disconnect the dishwasher from its power cord. That way I don't have to fish the power cord through the cabinets. I can let it just lay where it is. Next, I'm going to go into the cabinet here and disconnect the drain hose. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm placing some furniture sliders in front of the feet, so that way when I get it out, I can set them on those rather than dragging feet across the wood floor. Once we get the dishwasher out, we want to prepare by removing the 2 T20 Torx screws from the back of the tub that hold the back of the tub to the base of the unit, as we're going to have to separate the base from the tub to replace that wash pump or circulating pump. We also have 2 panels, one on each side, that need to come off, and they are also held in by Torx screws. So your side panels are held in by Torx screws. There's one here, and there's one in about the same position on the other side, on the other panel. Take the screw out, and you can see where it's tab locked So you want to lift and slide, and it comes right up. Now we have clear access to all of the fill components and the float on this side. Now I'm going to remove the panel on the opposite side, just like the other one. Next important thing is these little plastic guides for the hinge cables. These have to come off. You want to rotate the top out first, and then you can pull it directly out. Otherwise you'll break this little clip and then it's useless. Now to continue removing the base, we have 4 screws, 2 on this side, 2 on this side, that we're going to remove. They're again Torx T20. I'm using an extension and I'm going to slide it between the gasket, the tub gasket, and the door, and that'll allow me to get to that screw. And then we'll remove the bracket screws. Next step is we want to pull our spring brackets out of the base. And they'll slide right out. Might need a little bit of coaxing. Just take your flat driver bit and help to slide it out like so. Now, once you have that spring hanging loosely, you simply pull the connector off the hinge and let it lay. For video purposes, I am going to remove the heater with the circulating pump so that you can actually see the PEX clamp that's used at the factory, and we're going to be installing a regular worm clamp. So there's 2 Torx screws, T20. One is right next to the port that connects the circulating pump to the heater, and the other one is off to the left on the other side of the sump. I'm going to remove these rubber hangers. They hold the circulating pump up off the base slightly. The new one does not come with them, so you have to transfer them to the new one. Now there is a plastic snap clip on the back side of the heater. And we'll get the wiring off of the heater. It's clipped to the back side as well. And then the circulating pump pulls out of the hose in the sump like so, and we can disconnect our wiring to the motor. Black is on the right if you're looking at the back side of the motor, white in the middle, and the ground to the left. Each one of these terminals has a little push snap to it that you press in to release it from the terminal. And now everything is visible. This is the PEX clamp that I need to cut and remove. Loosen that PEX clamp enough to slide the motor out. This clamp here is a PEX clamp. It's becoming widely used in plumbing. Generally, you're not going to have room to get in with a tool to do a new PEX clamp, and nobody really wants to invest in the tool. You can get a worm clamp in there. You just got to make sure you position the worm clamp so that it doesn't interfere with the mounting of the heater, or when the base goes back on, it's not pressing against the base. Let's go ahead and install our new circulating pump. So what we want to do is get our clamp positioned where we want it. And then insert the circulating pump port into the heater. And you want to get everything positioned so that you can access the screw of the worm clamp. It's a flathead or 5/16 nut. I'm just going to rotate it so it's away from the circulating pump housing. What I'm doing right now is tightening the clamp down so that it gets around the rubber. And then I'm going to adjust and tighten down some more. And now you can actually feel it starting to tighten down on the rubber port. And now that you have the circulating pump joined to the heater assembly, we're going to reposition our flow sensor back in because it pulled out from the heater, and it has two grooves it fits into in this port. Then rotate the heater and circulator pump assembly back around. Bosch does not put a clamp on the hose that the front of the circulating pump goes on, because once it's all put back together, it fits tight enough that they don't need one. You want to depress your O-rings up inside the sump while lining up your screw holes, and then reinstall your Torx screws. Bosch does make a service clamp that you can order that is not as wide as a regular worm clamp. Some people think that's easier to work with. It's certainly slightly easier to work with if you don't want to drop the heater assembly. Now we'll reinstall our hanging bushings. And we'll reconnect our wiring. Goes to the left, white in the middle, black to the right. Now that we have everything reconnected to the motor, what we want to do is get the excess moisture out of the base by blotting it with a towel. Now that we have our wires reinstalled on the motor, we're going to start to reassemble the base to the tub. So, things I want you to notice are there are these plastic tabs that stick up here on the right side. We have to get our mounting bushings onto those tabs. We also have to reinstall our little door link mechanisms. They have a tab on them, so they're going to fit into the frame here, and then twist counterclockwise to lock into position. On the left side, you have the same link, but also we have to get the float pin back into position into the well of the float lever. So we'll start by starting to rock the base back into position. Our wires came off of the inlet valve, so we'll plug those back on. There is a sound dampening device that is located in the front center of the base. It's a rubber bushing that sits on its own little stand, and that has to line up with this concave in the bottom of the sump. And I just want to get any excess moisture out because we don't want anything getting back into the float. So now start to line things up. We will get our water system back into position. And then lift slightly to get it up on the frame. Take our link on this side and get it positioned. Like so. Same on this side. I'm going to move over to the right here and get my bushing on the first plastic piece on the bottom. We want to slide our power wires back through into the electrical box. So now that our screw holes are lined up, we're going to reinstall our screws in the front of the base. Start with the bracket screws first. They are a T20 Torx screw. And then we are going to go back to our extension with the Torx bit and install the upper mounting screws. Slide between the side gasket and the door. You can get it right along the bottom of the door. Get it tightened down. Next, we're going to reposition our springs on the hinge. And then we will pull down on the spring and insert the bracket where it goes. You can do that on both sides. You want to take the hinge and link cover, get it into position, rotate it back to get the little clip over the hinge, and lock it in place. And repeat that process on the opposite side. Next, we'll reinstall our side panels. First, insert the bottom lip into the channel on the base of the unit. Be careful. The edges are sharp. Push down and slide the panel left to engage the locking tabs. Then reinstall the T20 Torx screw. Now repeat the process on the other side. Now we'll go ahead and install the two T20 Torx screws on the back. Notice that they are a rough or coarse thread. That's because they're going into plastic. All of the other Torx screws that we have used have been a machine thread. And now we are ready to reinstall the dishwasher. Once we pivot the dishwasher around for reinstallation, there is a well underneath the dishwasher here and here. This well is for the electrical line to get to the front of the dishwasher to reconnect. This one is for the water line. You want to make sure that you get them into those wells. Otherwise, you'll have a hard time getting it back under the counter. Because the electric line is longer, I'm going to tip the dishwasher slightly sideways while I have it out and get the electric line connected and positioned. Now with the power cord back in position, we're going to take our drain hose and get it through the wall. Then we'll start to move the dishwasher back under the counter. Now before we get too far, I'm going to go back, make sure that my water line is positioned to go through that channel. And we'll move it back a little bit. And check again. It's coming out the front. That's good. Now I'm going to open the cabinet and make sure I got enough drain hose in to reconnect where it was. And I'll take this bracket and put it back in position. And then we're gonna slide it back some more. Now, they have it shimmed with boards in the back, so I just felt it start to touch the boards. I'm gonna raise the back of it and then slide it back. I'm gonna lift up on the dishwasher and remove my sliders now. And then spin the legs down. Don't worry about getting them perfectly level after I install the electricals and the water line. The water line, push it back into the Geist fitting. Pull on it, make sure it's in nice and tight. And now we will wire nut our electricals back together. Very important, make sure you get your white with white, black with black, and ground with ground, which is green. If you get mixed up and you put a black with a white, you're going to end up with reverse polarity, and that will do damage to the electronic control. It may run for a while and then cause the damage. Now we'll get our wires and wire nuts put back into the electrical box and reinstall the cover to the box. A number 2 Phillips screw holds the electrical cover in place. Now we'll reinstall the number 2 Phillips mounting screws. I'm pressing the dishwasher back while I'm installing the mounting screw because it's going to hold the dishwasher in position to aid in leveling using the front legs. So now I'm going to slide the base of the unit forward a bit so that the side gaskets are straight and level, and then lower our front feet. Now that we have the power, water, and drain reconnected, we're going to run it through a cycle to test and make sure that it's working properly and not leaking. I've started the cycle and it already started filling. And that completes your repair on this Bosch dishwasher. Thank you for watching another quality video brought to you by ApplianceVideo.com.